Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Color Authority podcast. This is Judith Van Vliet podcasting out of Milan, Italy. And today's a special podcast because I'm going to be interviewing my dear friend Rodrigo Fernandez, who is an industrial designer out of Mexico City. He has more than 15 years of experience offering lighting advice and consultancy to luxury hotels in Mexico and Central America. He's professor at Centro, the School for Design, Cinema, and Television in Mexico City. And he's also co-founder and director of Diez Company, a benchmark project in avant-garde lighting industry. He's a promoter of a lighting culture. Rodrigo is the creator indeed of the Light Report, an integral communication concept focused on the exciting world of lighting. He is also the author of Maison Diez Company, the largest lighting exhibition held in Mexico since 2018. He is speaker and promoter of the better lighting culture and a consultant in high-end lighting manufacturing. Let's see what he has to tell us about color and light. Good afternoon, Rodrigo, and welcome to the Color Authority. I'm so happy to have you here. How are you today?
I'm very good, Judith. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I wish I was in Mexico City. You're calling in from your office, right?
Yes, I'm in my office now. I've been traveling, but now I'm here.
You're a world traveler. I mean, we could even do just a podcast on where you've been in the last couple of weeks or months and just talk about the colors you've seen. I mean, it's crazy, your schedule. I don't know how you do it.
I know. I mean, it's tough, but I like it. And it's also very inspiring. So I'm very excited to talk to you about that as well.
Yeah. So I ask everybody that same question, the first question, and then you probably have heard that in the meantime, but what is color? So in your personal perspective, what is color to you?
Well, I think especially in my field, color is basically our perception of light. You know, I think it has to do with I'm in the lighting industry, first of all, so it's our perception of light. Without light, we wouldn't be able to see any of the colors or textures in an object. No, so color for me represents also the capacity that light has to actually enhance a product. No, I think a product that is well lit is actually true to its color. No, and that's very important because we want to see the real nature of the object, no, or the sexiest side of it, you know, and that's how I see it, and that's what light and color represent in a way.
Mm-hmm. So color is sexy. That's a good one. I have not heard that one before. So as you said, you work in lighting, but you started off as an industrial designer. So not saying it's completely different, but let's say that you had a quite particular focus point, which is I'm going to enter in lighting. You know, where did that passion come from for this, let's say, rather particular area of design?
Yeah, it was actually by accident. I met my business partner almost 18 years ago, and I was just out of university. I was teaching at Centro, doing like a very few hours a week, and I met my business partner Gina through a friend, and she wanted to do or to establish a lighting company, and this is how it started. It was very random. I don't think if we had thought more deeply into it, we would have decided to enter into this category, you know, because of the many implications that it has, not just technical, but also on the regulatory side between certifications and everything that's around it, no, which has been a difficult journey to understand, especially when you're not a specialist. No, how do you approach this category with professionalism and with like entering into this market was very challenging, and it was sort of an accident, but it has been a super interesting journey, and these 17 years have been also very, very insightful in meeting with new people and really understanding. I blame myself, or I call myself like a self-taught in this field, because I really studied, as you said, industrial design. I studied in Mexico and also in Torino in Italy 1 year. But once you understand that this object or that this particular field is very specific, you enter into a completely new world, no? Even if it's part of the industrial design area or field, it has its many aspects that you need to understand. And I think I've been throughout the years being able to learn more and understand how it works and how to work with light, no, and especially learning from really interesting people that I met through the way.
Yeah, I think that's how we are very alike. I think actually I'm now calculating back when I actually started in color, and I think it was in 2007. It is interesting that we are both students of life and students of our own careers, because as most of the listeners know, I studied political science. It has nothing to do with color. But then I entered in color marketing group, and that's how everything took off. But I think that's very part of who I am as a person, but I guess that's also who you are as a person. You learn on the job, and it's a daily experience. Every day you learn something new.
Exactly. And I think that's the best university that you can have. No, I again, you learn some skills when you study, but you really understand and you really learn what your passion is going to be while you're working and when you're faced with challenges and with problems and with daily life. No, and for me, it has become a life experience. No.
Yeah, a life project almost. I mean, 17 years, and now having this company. I mean, if that's been 17 years, that is a large part of your life, and I guess it's also where your passion is and where you want to continue.
Exactly. When some people tell me like, how would I define this project, I always compare it to when you dream of the man or woman of your dreams, no? And then there's the man or woman of your life, no? And I think for me, Diez Company and this project in particular has become the project of my life rather than the project of my dreams, no? And that's where the difference strikes.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people actually achieve that. So I think it is very special. Yeah.
It has been a very special journey, and I'm very excited where we are now and where we're heading.
Yeah. So as you just said, light is crucial because at night, for example, the world is in grayscale, right? It's black and white and thousands of tones of gray. But why is color still so important in the world of light and lighting? Because, most of them are not even, literally having color. But how do you think this influences currently your daily work? So you have lighting, but also color. How do you combine those, and how do you work with that on a daily basis?
Right. Well, obviously there's color in light that you can achieve, especially now with technologies going from RGB to tunable white, where you can get all the spectrum of color in one object. But then there's also temperature of light, where you can have different tones of light depending on the Kelvin temperature that you can achieve with an object, and how that is actually affecting the color of a surface. I think that's what we work with the most, with creating warm environments or colder environments, let's say, for workspaces or for hospitals or for schools. So depending on the activities or the typology of project that we're working on, we're always working with not just the temperature of the light or even the color of the light, depending on the use, but also with how this temperature or object or artifact is affecting the color of the surface, no?
Mm-hmm.
That is inciting it.
So the object which may be in color, like literally the design object, and the other part obviously is how it projects, sheds it literally its light onto your walls or on your furniture.
Exactly. No, and I think it also has to do with the effect that you want to create in a project. No, we work closely with interior designers, with architects, and we are always in close conversation on what they want to achieve. No, and we're usually just sort of accompanying them because they're the ones selecting the color palette for the space or the project, but we're sort of assessing them on how this would look, again, sexier or nicer, or how to enhance it. No, sometimes I always say that our job is to hide sometimes certain things, no, because it has to do with light and darkness. So where do you want more light to enhance that, or where do you want less light to hide some things that you don't want to see in a project? No.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you actually work with those architects and interior designers to make their designs come out best.
Yes, exactly. Because as you know, when you go in a restaurant and it's not well lit, it could be the worst culinary experience, no? But if it's well lit, if it's sexy, if the plates look good, if the food looks good, then your experience is amazing, no?
Yeah, true. I
Or
once
we,
was in a restaurant here in Milan where they actually inside, even though outside it was already dark, they had even projected underneath a daylight. So you would
yeah,
actually, even though we were in front of the windows, they would have a way to project a certain light that we'd all think it wasn't late in the evening. And it literally had an
yeah,
effect on how we felt, and our energy levels were higher because we
of course.
didn't understand that it was midnight in the
Yeah.
meantime.
It's what happens in casinos, no? I was recently in Las Vegas, and that's the same that happened. No, they are creating this effect where you don't know if it's day or night, so that you keep on gambling. No, so
Yeah.
your body is really being affected by this source, or the quantity of light, or the quality of it.
Well, you are obviously closer to the Equator than I am here in Milan in Italy. But
Yeah,
that's like, I'm born in the north of Europe, as you all well know, and I have a brother in Sweden where lights is a whole different topic than it
yeah,
is, of course, in Mexico, but also in the Americas where you work.
yeah.
So that is also, I guess, something you have to take into account. Like in Sweden, you have a different way of working with light because they have a lack of light in the winter, but way too much light during the summer. And that's perhaps also closer to Mexico. How do you work with those differences? But also, what is that big difference that you see in Mexico, for example?
Yeah, I think we're very lucky to have this natural light almost all year long, no, or all year long. So we really work with natural light first, and then we decide how during or as the day goes through how artificial light is going to interact in the space. No, obviously the orientation of the project is very important, depending on the way the sun is coming in, but also how natural light would affect also artificial light during the day. No, because we're always working with workspaces or different activities that require both, no, and how do you balance those levels to create an ambience that is working properly, and also how do you control that, even using, for example, a control system that is actually connected to the way the sun is working, and so when the sun is going down, how these levels of light are going up, no. So we work a lot with that, programming these different systems. We work with one in particular called Kasambi that it was founded in Finland, particularly speaking about these Nordic countries, no? And it's programmed so that when the sun is going down, the lights are going up, no? And you gradually go into this artificial light without noticing this change.
Yeah, so it's gradual. So it's not like
Yeah,
literally putting on a
it's
light
not a
and
big hit. Yeah.
it's shock, right?
Exactly. It's also meant to be very natural so that your body is getting used to it slowly. No?
Well, talking about lights, of course, we just both went to Euroluce. So,
Yeah.
the big Milan Design Week, which this year was the edition of light. What were
Yeah.
your highlights of this year?
Well, obviously for me, it was very interesting to see it again after 4 years. It was the first Euroluce, like a proper Euroluce after the pandemic. And I think not just the configuration of the fair, but the quality of the stands, the proposals of the different companies that were there was very interesting. I think it was a good time to go back. I could see some innovation in technology, particularly with collaborations like Luce Plan, I think did a great job. Bibia did an amazing job with new collaborations with designers, and also the what we were saying, the way the lights are controlled wirelessly or being tunable white or dim to warm, working with all of these technologies on how the light sort of progresses during the day or throughout the day to contribute to the light of the space, but also contributing to your well-being. No, I think I saw a lot of that, and also natural materials, new technologies in materials, re-editions of historic products was also something interesting to see. New colors. No, I think also some companies like Santancol presented a new color palette with a color specialist. So I think we're also seeing how important it is also for these industries to incorporate a specialist like you in working with color for new trends or for a new season or a new market, no? So I think that was also interesting to see these pops of color and different colors than what we're used to, no? Because sometimes in lighting or in lamps in particular, we see like very neutral colors, no? Like white, black, gray, no? And here in some companies or with some companies, we could see these splashes of color between yellows, purples, like more modern colors and more striking and more innovative as well.
So you mentioned wellness and also lights that actually warm. I think that's a little bit because what we've been through has not been easy in the last couple of years. And I think the economic crisis, again, is not super easy for a lot of people. So do you think that that is a trend that will continue onwards when it comes to lighting, so that it's more human-centric?
Of course. I think in these 17 years of career, I have seen how relevant it has become. No, I think we have more clients that are conscious on the importance of lighting and the importance of good lighting for their homes, no, in particular, or for their projects. Talking about hotels or commercial projects, offices, hospitals, schools. I've seen in the past it would be like whatever bulb is in the market, they would take it and they wouldn't realize the effects on their health. No, and I think in the past few years that we've been at home more and being more conscious on our space and our well-being and our capacity to feel better, we've become more conscious, and I think people are investing now in new equipment or in new ways of solving their lighting needs rather than with the refrigerator bulb that was cold and blue, no? And they didn't care, but now they've become more conscious and they understand the effect that this can have in their daily lives.
Yeah, it's interesting in a country like Italy. I mean, you've studied in Turin and you've been here so often. You come every year. Like, remember the restaurants in Italy? Even just 5 years ago, it was this bright light because the most important thing for Italians was to see their food, not thinking about how you as a person would feel sitting in this hideous light, and also obviously everything being visible, including also what you look like and things that indeed sometimes, as you said, you don't want to see. That also has changed. It's interesting how even not necessarily a traditional cuisine country also has changed and adapted, let's say, softer and warmer lighting where they did not until just a few years ago.
I think the introduction of portable lights has also changed these in restaurants, no? Where you see now the little lamps in every table that have made it more like focused on the food or focused on your table rather than having to illuminate the whole thing because they couldn't find another solution. Or even candles, no? I think candles are the best source for a special dinner. But now all these portable elements that you see from, Safferano or Vivia even, or Pablo, or any of these companies that are doing beautiful portable lights for the commercial sector, you see it now when you go to Venice or when you go to all these piazzas where there's obviously no electricity to pull through. Yeah. They're using these portable lights and they're creating an ambience that is sexier and that is nicer, no?
Yeah, no, that's totally true. And it makes dining out a little bit more pleasurable. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, especially now in the summer, no? It's nicer.
Yeah. When you look at just generally color in Milan Design Week, so not necessarily just on lighting, was there any particular color direction that you see or a change? Because you've been here last year too. Then it was obviously kitchen oriented, but let's say the main brands are the same. Did you see like a shift towards a different color family, more color, less color?
Well, I see more interesting color. No, I think there's more. They're taking risks. No, and I think this is good, particularly, and this. No, even in consumer goods. No, where companies are like doing striking colors or some collaborations between other designers and doing striking colors that were not the norm or what people were used to, even in I don't know, an air fryer or a steam machine or no, any of these products that you would normally have at home. You see a pop of color, no, or collaborations like super colorful Dolce & Gabbana Bialetti or colorful objects that you see. And I think not just in lighting, but in furniture, in textiles, I was able to see it more so in Milan this year. and with colors that were not normally used for these typologies, for these categories of product. So that was very interesting. I don't know if it will be a trend to continue, but for sure it was something that they wanted to show this year. Like the big green, like deep greens, like the emerald green, purple, yellow. I think these colors were very, very trendy this year.
These are not the easiest colors normally to apply in interior design. Green now is very popular due to the pandemic, probably, to bring green in your house. But that was never really a color that people would bring into the home because it's not a very easy color to combine, especially not when it's wall paints and wall decorations. But it's funny how to see that something like the pandemic has just done like 180 degrees and how green is now so well accepted in our homes.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we're going to see this trend continue. And
I think generally color, what we see is that there's more risk taking. There was a little bit more of bravery. It was interesting to see some new colors as well. I think, doing color for the sake of color. I think sometimes just finding new direction is definitely of interest. I felt this year the combination of colors was definitely improved because sometimes it's very easy to use color. But I think combining those, I think that is still the big task for most designers. And I think that was, combining, for example, the ochres with the dark reds, with the bright lipstick pink, interesting combinations.
And also, how do you make sure it's a successful product? I think companies like Apple put a lot of thought into it, before launching a new color, like the new yellow iPhone. I'm sure they've put a lot of thought into it before going in the market, and you have to go in the market in the right time. You can't be late, but you can't be too early. So I think that all these companies are really working with specialists in making sure that they're at the right place, in the right place at the right time, with the right color.
Sure. Do you believe that, let's say, you just mentioned Apple, you just mentioned a few brands. Do you think that these brands that are pushing color trends, or let's say they're following color trends wherever they are in that hierarchy, do you think that generally color trends are also then moving into the light market, or is it something that the light market is a little bit outside of? Or
I think there is an influence. I think even fashion probably goes first, and then it transfers to other categories. But I obviously see an influence on what is happening in other industries and how it's impacting lighting, in particular. And you can see it with certain companies that are doing now what some fashion companies were doing in the past, and also certain collaborations. I think today the word collaboration is super important, and how some lighting companies are connecting with other specialists to add color to their product, not just by doing so, not just for the sake of it, but with a thought behind, or with a specialist that's endorsing the idea of why this color is important. I think that's what I'm seeing more. And I think that also adds value to whoever is using this product in a project. If you're doing a hotel, or if you're doing a home or interior design, you use this because there's more, let's say, validation in the market, because someone else who is more specialized than you in that particular matter is actually saying that this is the right thing to do.
No, that's true. I think, and that's what we saw a little bit more this year in Milan Design Week, that experts were being called in on particular topics. Also, what I think was generally a trend is that many brands were collaborating with big designers or big names. Let's call it the names of the now, right? Which is, I think, something that's a trend per se. Sometimes I do wonder, like, that's playing safe, right? For a brand, it's playing safe. Sometimes I wish that some brands pull out their vision a little bit more and be a little bit more brave on their own.
Yeah, well, I think it's true, but it's also very smart. I think companies like Yadro, that from Spain, have called important names like Jaime Ayllón, that you and I recently met, just because, obviously, because they're super good, but also because of what they could do to their company. I think the incorporation of Jaime to Yadro completely changed what Yadro is now, by not just because the product changed, the color schemes changed. And now they already know that this is a successful formula. And the most recent lighting collaboration for Yadro was with Luca Nicheto that you probably saw in Milan, which is this beautiful, completely out of the ordinary chandelier, but not just the shape, but the color is super striking, no? And when like very Memphis, but also very soft, no, like 60s kind of look. And they know this is going to be successful, not just because of the name behind it, but the color and the product design that they've created. No, it's called the Blown Collection, and it's really nice. Check it out.
Yeah, no, indeed, because obviously people are not seeing what we're talking about. But I think that was indeed a very interesting color combination.
And a good match, no? Both for between color, the designer, and the company that they're working with.
Yeah, today I was talking with another editor about minimalism and maximism. And I think that is a very interesting thing. My take on that was, why do we have to choose? I mean, it's not like you are a minimalist designer, you only go into that direction, and that automatically doesn't mean color. Not necessarily is that true. I think there's both ways. And I think in Milan Design Week, we saw both. We saw clean, simple. I think that is also to do with the ecological trends that we're seeing, the whole trend about sustainability, recycling. But there was also a lot of opulence, a lot of mix, color, pattern, not go crazy.
Excess.
It was still sophisticated. I think it was still sophisticated. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that like superposition of materials, of textures, of patterns, of colors has been around for a long time. But I think bringing it back is giving you some, again, sexiness, some comfort, and some happiness, no? And I think that's what we've been aiming for in the past couple of years. And I think that's why it's back, no? With huge proportions, with big patterns, with color, like that Dolce & Gabbana home collection, no? It's a pop of color, no? Of happiness. And the people that use this product are probably like trying to give a statement, no?
True, and bring that into their homes. So you've recently traveled. Also, you've been to, well, obviously you've been to Spain, you've been to Prague, you've been here in Italy, and then obviously you've had other travels going on as well. But so you have a pretty good vision of what's happening in Europe with lights and needs that people have to lights. How is the market in Mexico different, and why do you have a company like Diez Company? Why was it so necessary to do something that was really for Mexico?
Yeah, that's a good question. When again, 17 years ago, without much research, but with like a clear idea that there was a need in the market, we started this lighting company. First of all, because there was no one wanting to deal with the whole process of certification and import-export regulations and all the process that it can be difficult or that can be painful. And we've stayed as the specialist. No, I think we found the right niche, we found the right need in the market, and we have been able to succeed as a company in always being offering the best of the best in this field. No, some people tell me, why are you not interested in furniture or in other categories? No, and I always say, I want to remain as the specialist. No, I want to be the professional that's involved in lighting, and that people come to us because they have a specific lighting need. No, and that we are able to solve it and work with a voice of experts. No, and that's what's very important for me. And as you say, Mexico is very particular in that way, and I've been able to understand and compare other markets. Mexico right now obviously is in a really good place. Everyone wants to come to Mexico, including you, for many reasons. But Mexico right now is super trendy, no? And I think I always compare it to New York in the 80s. I think Mexico City right now is like that idea of New York City where everything was possible, where there was a creative group doing something, where people were from everywhere, no? Because no one was from New York, no? But all these people were coming from different places to achieve something, no, or to succeed in a field, no, be it theater or arts or wherever it was at the time. And I think today, I see Mexico City as that. No, I think everyone is coming here because they see it as an opportunity. Obviously, the weather is great, the architecture is great, the food scene is amazing, but also the people that is around and that are creating something interesting. The galleries that are opening, the artists that are creating something in Mexico, even if they're not from Mexico, they are working and living here, and they're proposing something, no, based in the context of the city or of the country. And I think that has, as a result, a bigger market for everyone, including us. No, I think new restaurants are opening and they need lighting, new homes being built, and new and more sophisticated. No, I think more and more so the interiors are more sophisticated. People understand now the need for an interior designer or an expert, and also for better lighting. No, so for us, the market has really opened up, and it has given us many opportunities to participate in very interesting projects, no, including obviously hotels, which is one of our biggest market. Also because tourism is really big in Mexico right now, and I think that's what makes it very special and very unique. No, obviously we work with different designers from around the world to create projects in Mexico, and we try to working with the local context, with colors that go with the context of the place where they're being done. No, it's not the same if we're doing a hotel in San Miguel de Allende or in Tulum. No, there's obviously different needs, not just in the materials, but in the color schemes or in the quality of the light that we want to provide.
A lot of people don't understand, when especially there's no such thing as just copy pasting. What's been done here, not necessarily can be done here. There is context. There is indeed culture. I thought indeed Mexico is booming. The whole world is looking at what are they doing in Mexico and what are they doing is not obvious, but Mexico City is a city of more than 22 million people, and that's the official number. I mean, there's many more, obviously. And then obviously not counting even the commuters, like I even consider myself a commuter to Mexico City. It is funny how that is. And I've been there multiple times, and it's an energy level that you have in other places. What I've noticed, however, from coming this year, for the last time, is that you hardly hear Spanish on the streets, in certain areas. So there's a lot of creativity. You just said it's like New York in the 80s. Why do you think Mexico City offers these possibilities? Is because it's still raw, it's open to everything?
I think so. I think it's still raw. I think Mexico, obviously, with its good and bad sides of it, is also very easy to do stuff. No, there are not many regulations on how to do certain things. So I think it's a place of possibilities. I think it's still easy to found a company here. It's still easy to succeed in a way. No, I think when you go to New York now, after 40 years after 40 years in the 80s, the competition is super big. No, I think it's difficult to stand out, no, to succeed. And here, I think it's still very virgin, no, very raw. There's many possibilities. No, the creative scene is not that big yet, and we still know each other, and it's still easy to enter into this. And we're also very welcoming. We like other people from other places, from other countries. We make sure they feel welcome, and we appreciate what they are able to teach us. No, and I think that's also interesting, because we are learning all the time from other people on how to do certain things, but they are also learning from us. I think that's important.
I think that is it. I mean, where, for example, in Italy, as you know, it wasn't a country that was very focused on necessarily other cultures, let alone other restaurants that were not Italian food. Suddenly we have like Mexican restaurants popping up, and you can drink mezcal in almost all of the, let's say, the better restaurants. So that is a sign that something is changing.
Exactly. No, and obviously food is very important. We have a big scene, and now the best chef in the world was named chef, no, Elena Regadas, who's the chef of Rosetta, was named the best chef in the world. So everyone is wanting to be here. The next cruise show for Dior is going to be held in Mexico City this Saturday. So that also means something. No, I think the cities that are seeing these cultural manifestations, these design manifestations, are the ones that are to interest globally, and if companies like Dior are coming to Mexico to do this, it must mean something, and I'm very excited to be here, to be able to participate of the culture of this city, and to see what's happening. It's an interesting time.
I learned just a few weeks ago that actually the Mexican kitchen, as its entire, it is actually part of the UNESCO heritage. The only other kitchen that is the French. It's the French kitchen and the Mexican kitchen. And then there's products like pizza as just one dish but the entire kitchen out of Mexico is
protected by UNESCO. It's like immaterial heritage, no? Yeah, it is crazy, but it's amazing. I think it's a good time, design and for Mexico and in general.
So this late fall, you're gonna then again open. I mean, this is what all people in Mexico City also waiting for. You're gonna open your new Maison Diez Company exhibition. This is something that you started a couple of years ago. Is there anything that you already want to reveal to the listeners, or what we may expect, or what we maybe also expect color-wise?
Yeah, well, obviously, yes, I'm very excited. This year is a little different. Every year we move from a location to a different location. We've been in 4 different locations so far. And we also move from neighborhood to neighborhood. I've always thought that Maison Diez is this project that is or has the capacity to affect positively the area that it happens in. So we were in Roma for the first year, and that was very positive also for the area. It was a shorter version of it, but it was the first one. So it was almost a beta test. Then the second year we went to Juarez, which was a big project, a big mid-century building in Juarez, which affected also very positively the area. Then we went to Escandon, to a smaller villa, but beautiful. And then now we are in this crazy space that you were able to see, which is a former gym, tennis school. And the space is so magical, and you've seen it, no? In thinking more and more about the idea of leaving and finding a new space, we had the opportunity to stay longer. So this year, my challenge is not to leave, but to stay. No, and I think that's also an interesting challenge that I want to pursue, and I want to see what the result is. So we're going to stay. That's one of the news. We're going to stay in the same space. Yeah, San Miguel Chapultepec, which is also an area that is booming, full of galleries, new restaurants, new beautiful architecture. So the area is amazing. The space is incredible. So we're going to reimagine the space in the next couple of months to reopen in October and let people have a different experience within the same space. No, it's a bit like what happens with Hermes in Milan. No? Every year they use the same space, but it's always different. So this year, the exercise for us, or the challenge, is to keep the space, but it's a different concept. It's a different exhibition, and people will not understand how it can be the same space. No, so that's one idea. I'm not going to reveal a lot, but there will be a splash of color. And we're gonna use the trends of 2024 for comics for sure.
Yeah, no, that is definitely exciting, and I think especially that collaboration with comics obviously is gonna enhance, again, just like you said, collaboration. Sometimes they're there for a reason. It's not just networking; it is bringing the best of two actually out there to the audience and to whoever is interested in coming to your event. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So coming up, put it in the calendar. We'll tell you the dates when we have them, but it's very exciting also because the community of design are always expecting this. No, they are like anxious to know what we've been doing. It's the hottest ticket in town. So we really like the fact that we've become a company that is also promoting design and doing these kind of events that are helping the community. No, they're not just helping us, they're helping our competitors. They're helping the level of quality of what's happening in Mexico City. No?
Yeah, that's great. And I think that is a good way forward, community building and spreading that world and the word on everything that is light, design, and color, of course. Rodrigo, this has been amazing. I thank you so much for all your information and sharing your experience. And we will see each other soon, but I'm definitely coming in October.
Great. I'll be very happy to see you. And something we didn't mention, and I'm not sure when this will be released, but today is the International Day of Light. So it was perfect to have this conversation with you in such a special day for us.
This was perfect. So this is going to be released in 2 weeks' time, but today was the 16th of May, just so that people will, look back at that day and wonder, what was I doing that day? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, Judith.
I hope you enjoyed this last episode. If you are a fan of the Color Authority podcast, please let us know by reviewing and rating our show on whichever platform you're listening on. The next episode is coming out next month, and in the meantime, I'm wishing you a wonderful, colorful day.